It is time for another episode of the Cultural Hall. It is an Articles of News episode. We're going to call it Old Man Glasses. I already know, just because I know where this episode is headed. I'm joined by my friend Russell. He is the love muscle, all the way from Texas, the land of many temples. It's basically Utah. Russ, how are you?
I'm great. It's a little chilly. And
Yeah,
by I
you
mean
got,
chilly, I mean Texas chili.
yeah, well, lots of meat. Is that Texas
Yeah, no
chili?
beans.
And no beans.
No beans.
It's basically just a lot of meat. You guys got snow down in the Texas.
Yeah, the Dallas area got a bunch of snow.
Yeah, but
And
not you guys? No
I
snow for you?
I got nothing. We
Okay.
got 27 degrees,
Okay.
which is cold, which is unreasonably cold here.
Yeah, you guys never get that cold.
I mean, we have, but we usually freeze a few handful of times away. I always tell people when they ask me what's winter like, I always
Uh-huh.
say that we get 12 days of winter and they're non-consecutive. And
Okay.
so see, like, and I usually think, it freezes usually a handful of times. We'll
Okay.
freeze a couple more. Usually February is the coldest month,
Sure.
but they this we had a hard freeze in a handful of days,
Hmm.
um, below freezing. The thing that I think is most interesting, and this is really isn't interesting to anyone other
Sure.
than
No.
me, is that generally speaking, like I've been in Texas for almost 20 years,
Have you
and the
really?
times that it does, yeah, getting close. Well, if you count my mission for sure,
Wow.
but if you think about like when it goes below freezing, the
Uh-huh.
amount of time it stays below freezing, like there's only been like 3 or 4 times that it's stayed below freezing for a whole 24-hour period.
Wow.
Usually it warms up above freezing at some point
Sure.
during the day. When we had the big giant terrible freeze that the power grid failed and
Mhm.
everybody was miserable and people died, that when that happened and Ted
Sure.
Cruz went to Cancun, when
Uh-huh.
that all happened, uh it was like it was like 100 hours or 120 hours that were below freezing.
Sure.
But usually we get like 7 hours below freezing, if
Sure.
that.
And you know where I was during that 100 hours of freezing?
Where?
Dallas Fort Worth Airport, and it was the most miserable experience I've ever had. Ever, maybe ever in my entire life. Because they don't have
Wow.
like a real great furnace, a real great heater system in that airport.
Oh yeah, it could be chilly.
And we got stuck there. We were supposed to fly out, and they're like, no, doors are closed. And they're like, but there is another flight tonight. And then we went from that Dallas Fort Worth airport, for people who don't know, real big. It's a hub. And they're
It's
like, hey,
it's large.
you can go to the other concourse. And normally there's a train, but the train was closed because of snow. And so
Yeah,
we were
too
like,
cold for
oh,
trains.
yeah. I was like, all right, well, we'll walk. So we walked all the way. We were in like concourse A and had to go to concourse E, run all the way there. They get us on the plane. We're just de-icing everyone. We're actually not going to be able to take off everyone. All that. It's too slick out on the thing, which is fine. Our safety. They're like, hey, come back tomorrow and we'll get you out of here. So then we had to go to a hotel with an Uber driver who I'm sure had never driven in snow ever. We woke up the next morning and the power had gone out, and talked to the desk guy who said, "Hey, my cousin will get you to the airport." And we were like, okay, well, we need to get there. So cousin took us at $90 a pop, but at the point
This
that he told
ends.
us what it cost, we were already in his vehicle sliding on the freeway towards the airport, where there was one security gate. No, 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 not like all the gates and being able to do it. It was literally one gate checking people through. 5 hours in security only to get to the actual gate and have the plane have left. It was the worst experience ever. Ever.
But you survived and you're stronger for it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm holding space for all the lessons that I'm going to learn from that experience.
I wish that I could have been in your ward's testimony meeting the following past
Sure.
Sunday to
Oh, you
hear
can bet.
about
You can bet.
what that was like.
Yes, you can bet. I shared that testimony. So 20 years in Texas, and now we were talking right before we started recording that you're old. You got old man eyes.
Yeah, I went to get the eyes checked. I hadn't done that in, a fortnight. And so I went to get the glasses, to check them out and my eyes at distance,
Hmm.
they still I'm still good enough. The lady said I would still pass the driving test, that I don't
Great.
need them to drive. So I'm like, that's pretty good. But the problem that I've had is that I have a hard time reading small things.
Sure.
And especially if it gets a little bit dark, the lighting's not great, and then it
Sure.
gets real tricky. To the point that I got one of those new iPhones with a special programmable button,
Uh-huh.
the new button iPhones.
Okay.
Anyway, so I set that button to be a magnifier. That's how
Okay.
bad it is.
Good
And
for
so I'm
you.
like, I should check that. Anyway, so she's like, oh yeah, we can definitely fix this. And so, I had two prescriptions, right? A distance one and an up close. And so it's essentially bifocals, right? I've never
Okay.
had glasses,
Yeah.
but she's like, so I had a choice. I could get bifocals
Okay.
or I could get two glasses, a distance pair and an up close pair. And I thought,
Sure.
man, I don't think I'm ready to commit to bifocals as
No.
I'm a spry 44 years old. I'm not that old.
Yeah.
And and so I got the two different sets of glasses, and I regret it immediately because it is not. I'm having a harder time reading the things that are up close.
Well, here's
So
the deal, though. I mean, I feel like you just need to do the next step. You just once you commit to the next step, then it's not going to be an issue that you have two pairs of glasses.
what's the next
You
step?
you put them on chains and then wear them around your neck.
Oh yeah, some chums. Will that
Yeah, get
work?
you some chums.
I don't remember where I was. So it was shortly after I got him, and then I saw this guy, and he had this bright orange pair of chums on. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
It's where
It's an
we're headed.
interesting
It's where we're headed.
choice.
It's where we're headed, without question.
I'm going to eBay right now to find me some old chums.
Yeah, I want to get like my grandma had like this heavy metal chain that would clink, and then it had two little pearls on either side. That's what I want to get, but I don't have to wear glasses. But I'll tell you this, I
Have you had
also
your eyes checked recently?
no, because so I am fine with everyone getting older, but me.
Oh,
So my wife, beautiful, graying, graying, and I think it's about the sexiest thing because the way that it's happening for her, it looks great. I love it. I'm starting to get gray on the temples.
mhm.
Nope. It is a one on the side and cut so short so that no one can see that it's gray because I can't handle it. I'm not emotionally ready for it.
Your beard? Does you got a little gray in the beard?
Yeah, but I feel like it's yeah, the beard is only for the show. I put some stuff in it so it doesn't look
Oh, I see. For your
so
yeah.
old.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But the eye thing for me, this was a couple years ago. I thought I was dying or had diabetes. I was helping out with the sacrament. I think I've told this here in the cultural hall. And I knelt down to say the prayer, and my head was blocking the light and the print on the little tray to read and I was like, do I have diabetes? It's so blurry. Did I eat sugar this morning? Did I not eat enough sugar? What's going on? I,
And you've
I
had oatmeal every day since.
Yeah, I tromboned my eyes away from that tray trying to get the right like focus on it. And I was like, no, it can't be. It is. It 100% is. So it's coming. I got to do it.
Yeah. And when you do, just go ahead and just get the bifocals because you're not going to switch pairs.
Yeah, but can't you do the LASIK? Isn't this what the
I don't
LASIK
know.
is for?
Maybe I hadn't. I mean my vision but for when I'm reading something up close
Hmm.
is fine.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
I like driving is fine. Like the lady said, I could pass the driving test. I don't. The state of Texas says I don't need glasses to
Well,
operate a motor vehicle.
what do they know? You're a sovereign nation. You get to do whatever you want.
The Yeah, and I've noticed it's interesting now that I have them. Like sometimes that like it's a pretty good distance. Like I'll be standing across the room and I'll
Mhm.
look at the TV and I'll see the credits on one of the shows my kids are watching. And I'll take my glasses off just to check, and I'll be like, "Oh, that is a little bit blurry there
Yeah.
at this
Yeah.
distance." Yeah. But it's not a big deal.
Yeah. I'm far more
So
deaf than I am blind. Right ear. If I want to
what?
not hear anything, I just lay on my left and then I can't hear anything. Not completely, but
Just a couple of old dudes complaining
yeah.
about their failing body.
I remember when kids, if you're young, live it up now.
Yeah,
Uh,
and
other
that's how you
things.
lose your hearing.
Yeah, yeah. I just yell. Other things for you? Anything exciting, interesting, fantastic with the church? Anything down that way that's exciting?
Um, I wish I knew more about this because I saw some pictures from of it today, and I thought, man, that really was cool. But our stake did a big service project with a Buddhist temple in San Antonio,
Okay.
and yeah, we came together and like helped them make some sort of craft for a celebration they were having, and the pictures from it will look pretty incredible. I'm
That's
sorry I
awesome.
don't have more details than that, and I didn't participate um, because my daughters had a dance competition, and
Sure.
so I was flying solo with the three young boys, and
And you
so
didn't think, that a interfaith service project would be the best place for your, how old are your boys?
uh, 4, 6, and 9
No, you don't think that's,
probably no, it probably would have been.
no, that would have been
I'll tell
great.
you. I'll tell you a quick story. The
Please.
4-year-old, right? We recently went on a cruise for around the holidays. We went
Yeah.
on
You
a
give your
cruise,
kids experiences, not crap they don't need.
right? And so like we went to see the Mayan ruins and Cozumel. Anyways, so we're on the boat and it's winter and it's probably too cold to be swimming, but my kids want to swim, so
Yeah, it
whatever, they're
doesn't
swimming.
matter. Kids will swim.
And
If they can swim, they
I'm
swim.
just sitting out on the boat, and then like finally it's like time I'm making the kids get out of the pool, and the 4-year-old is just upset with me that like,
Sure.
and so he's like kind of fussy, and I'm trying to get him dried off, and it's late by any standard, but definitely late for a 4-year-old.
Sure.
And he's fussy, and I'm trying to dry him off, and these two college age boys go walking by the deck, and they go, "Bye, Winston. We'll see you tomorrow." And like immediately, this kid just like, I'm not upset anymore. I'm cool. He's like, "Oh, hey guys, see ya. We'll see you tomorrow." And then he turns to me. He's like, "Those are my friends. They call me Winnie." And like, we're the kind of parents that just let our kids run amok.
Sure.
Yeah, because that's what they're going to do anyways. I
Sure.
mean, they don't run amok. They're reasonably behaved,
Yeah.
but they had been hot tubbing with these college
Sure.
age boys,
Okay.
and so and like the 4-year-old is like he's everybody's best friend,
Sure.
and so he made friends with these dudes, and they
Nice.
called him Winnie.
Did you get one of
So
their cell phone numbers in case he started to act up again later and be like, "Hey,
hey, can you
want
just walk by again?
to? Would you mind, ma'am? I'm
Tell
struggling
him to
here."
like mellow out. But yeah,
Well, we'll do some articles of news here in a minute because it is an articles of news episode. Russ has read through the pages upon pages and picked some favorites that he'd like to talk about. I encourage, if you have not listened, and that is the
you,
large at large you, and also you, Russ Wild. If you have not listened to the last episode of the Culture Hall, I encourage you to do it. It is where I do the interview with the woman who gets a model of Christ and takes your kids' pictures with Christ in the fields and around the water, like he's walking on the water, etc. I have made the decision. The next photo shoot, I am going to go get my picture taken with Jesus. I've decided that this is a thing I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to wear and how that's going to look for me. I can't decide if I want
I
it to be like me modern day and Jesus, but I'm going to do it. I have asked Michaela, the
it,
guest, the photographer, to let me know because I've decided I'm going to do it.
is there a place that perhaps you could go where there you could have your picture and Jesus could be carrying you, and then but behind him you could see the footprints?
If yeah, and there's only one set. Yes,
Yeah.
if I can get that to work out, I 100% will do that. 1,000% I will do
Or
that
perhaps
picture.
perhaps a picture where you're on one side of a door and he's on the other side of the door and there's no handle.
Wow, don't be blasphemous. Come on. Come
That's not
on.
blasphemous.
We could at least
What
be
other
apocryphal, not blasphemous. I don't know. There will be a picture of me with that. And and here's the deal. Lest people think that I'm making fun of it. I'm genuinely not. I think the
I think
symbology of it is kind of cool. And more than the symbology of the whole thing, I just think it's unique enough that I'd like to do it. I don't know where I'll hang that picture. I don't know, what I'll do with it. Maybe I've thought about it being, I've never done a Christmas card before. I've thought of doing something like that with it, but I'm
do
gonna
you
do
think you could get him to lay in a manger?
it. No, come on. You are gonna get me in trouble. I'm being serious. I think it's a cool thing. Here's the deal. I think it's a brilliant idea. You hear me express that in that
Yeah.
episode with her, and she needs to capitalize on it. Not exorbitantly, but I went to her website and she doesn't have anything about it. She's in the Wall Street Journal about it, for crying out loud. So,
Yeah,
if you
I actually
listen to
saw a
that
bunch of
episode,
a lot of discussion on my Facebook, amongst my Facebook friends about that Washington Post article
yeah,
about the thing, and I thought, oh man, that is
it's
an
smart. It's a smart
interesting.
idea, and she's a talented photographer. So I'm gonna do it. I've said I don't know how this is gonna work out, and I want you to know I'm not teasing. I'm not joking. I'm not making light of it. Though some
I
will
was
think,
just now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. To be clear, you were. Let's take a quick break.
That's a pretty impressive New Year's resolution, Richard. I'm very
Yeah,
excited
I'm
for you.
I'm doing the things. I'm doing all the things. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll do actual articles of news. BestDJinUtah.com is the website. That is where you go if you would like me to come and DJ your event. Now, will I do a family reunion where you all wear the same t-shirts? You bet I will. Will I travel to wherever you're at? Uh-huh. Am I reasonable as far as what I cost? Yes. Yes. Do I bring a good time? Yeah, all the things. Listen, Best DJ in Utah, it's my company. It's a thing I do that allows me to be able to have the time to do the cultural hall. So if someone's getting married, you think, man, they need a great DJ. You're throwing a party, whether it's a 50th or 60th or 40th or 20th or whatever the party is. I've done them all and would love to be able to do that. An anniversary party, certainly done those. I did a baptism in 2023. Yeah, we did a big dance party at a baptism. Spoiler, not a Mormon baptism, but it was fun nonetheless. BestDJinUtah.com is a website. I will get back to you within 24 hours with a quote. Come on now. BestDJinUtah.com. Here in the second half of Articles of News, we do actual articles of news. Hit it, Peter.
You can't lose articles of news.
And away we go. You can tell if you are a subscriber over on the YouTube. It's getting serious because Russ has put his glasses on so that he can read the screen. It's starting to get a little later at night, and he needs to be able to see the things. His computer's up close, and so he needs to be able to read it.
I'm actually working on from an iPad, and I've got you half the screen is your lovely face.
Oh,
The other half is the text, and the text is a little smaller than I normally have it, but these little reader glasses sure make it easier to see.
yeah, you don't have to call them reader glasses. You just call them readers. That's when you've arrived. Tell me where we're going first. What's our first news story?
How can we not go to California, man? That stuff is crazy.
Unreal crazy.
Like I as a reporter of television news, have been in crazy wildfires before in Utah and here in Texas, like unbelievable fires. And the stuff that I've seen in California is just bananas.
Absolutely decimated. The last I heard, 22 dead. Is that
Yeah, 24-ish, I
24?
think.
Okay. As far as church things go, I have not seen anything in any of the Utah publications that said any of those have been members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Oh, yeah,
I have not heard of any church building that has been burnt. I have heard of many church buildings being open as places of correspondence, of places for things to be donated, of food stops and those kind of things. But as far as I have read, and there were some pictures, some pretty daunting pictures of the Los Angeles temple with the fire in the background. But the temple also.
That's just distance and camera angles.
Sure.
And obviously, just like in Utah, I just think of fires that we've seen on the mountains in Utah. Like you could frame a temple picture up really nice with.
Sure, but I mean, it's within 4 or 5 miles of it.
Yeah.
And with how the Santa Ana winds have been, I mean, that's an hour and a half.
I thought I saw in one of the articles that you'd included that the Palisades building had been destroyed, but I'm not seeing it now. But
to your point, what when you look at it from a church perspective, obviously it is the news of all the news. Is the church showing up in the way that you would anticipate that they would? Are you disenfranchised by the way that it is? What are you thinking? Or
I mean, the church is. I have a whole bunch of personal beliefs in the church and disaster response, and I think the church ultimately does a decent job, and they will do a great job in California because of the long-term ties and the number of members that are there. Our response will be great. Our response generally comes in the most strong way after the danger's over.
Sure.
So I'm sure the church is mobilizing. I think, there's a statement from Elder Mark A. Bragg about, he's from the North America West area presidency. He says that the church is going to help these people through this emergency. I'm sure there's stuff being mobilized right now, and once the smoke clears a little bit, I think you'll see an amazing outpouring of donations and volunteerism, and we'll see all of that. Obviously, like, we don't have a mission of disaster responding smoke jumping elders that are
Right.
going to parachute in and do that, but I'm sure that there are wards that are doing amazing things right now, and I'm sure the church will do amazing things as the danger passes and once things are under control.
It just devastating, and also inspiring is not the right word, but like redeeming, I guess, to see some of the response that people have had. This is certainly not just members of the church, but like I saw as I was watching some of the coverage of it, like the animal shelters and all the people, like they don't need more people to take in the animals because so many people have said, yes, of course, we'll foster these animals until these people are able to get situated. And they
And
had,
Steve Gutenberg directs traffic. It's just
right.
all sorts of great.
Yes. Yeah. Tom
Then
Hanks.
there's a need. You meet the need.
Yep. Tom Hanks spared because he was Mormon, his house. Mormon at one time, taught by Steve Martin. No, that's dead. We don't talk about that anymore. No, but the devastation, honestly, I have watched so much of it, and
And that's like also coming from a media perspective. Like, California has, and I don't remember how it's phrased, but they do have a weird law in place
uh,
of that allows the media to get ridiculously close to fires, and some of the images we've seen are just unbelievable. And then that's from professionals, let alone like people that are just shooting the video as they leave their homes. That stuff has been heartbreaking to see.
it's left me in some ways because I know so there are some resources, and certainly you can earmark donations that you make to the church to say California wildfire relief, that kind of stuff. When you make a donation online, there is the other, and then you can kind of do it there, and the church will do with it as it will. The American Red Cross. But the thing that has been interesting to me is twofold. One, I've thought, if I'm in this situation, am I the kind of person that looks at it like I am so grateful to God that me and my family are safe, or am I one that's like, why is this happening? Help me out here, God. That's sort of one response that I've had, and the other response that I've had is uh, that I wish I could do something more. Like the responsible, irresponsible me would love to get in the car and drive out there and be hands-on front row. What do we need, right? There's something that to me that would be pretty awesome to go for a week and just be like, I'm here for whatever people need. That's not realistic, at least for my life presently. So, like, short of like doing something or being able to see the people that I'm helping or be able to have the one-on-one with the people that I'm helping, like I can go donate some blood and that can save some lives and that's cool, but it just doesn't feel that personal. I'm trying to find some sort of like personal thing that I can do. So anyone that I know that is living out there, I've tried to send messages and say, "Hey, thinking about you. If there's anything that I can do or help or whatever, let me know." But even that kind of feels like thoughts and prayers, and I kind of at the end of the day still go, "Well, I'm trying, I guess."
You're willing to help, and
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I don't know where you even start if you're in the situation where you've lost your home, because so many people have. Like, where do you go? Like,
right.
what do you do? I'm sure members of the church have, taken in their friends and families.
Sure.
I think of the major fire that we had here a few years ago, the one that I'm thinking of, there was, 1,000 homes were destroyed, and like the bishop of the ward that the fire was in evacuated his house, and his house ended up not burning, but the house he evacuated to burned. And
Hmm.
so it was just like, it was, there's, I don't know, it's a difficult situation. I think fire is a crazy thing,
Sure.
but I will say that I've always thought that because the loss is total, like I think there's something to be said for that. Like it's all just gone. It's
Yeah.
like, you don't have a choice. there's not much you can salvage. So like
Sure.
you're pretty much forced to start over versus trying to like pick through what's left of maybe after a flood or a whatever other kind of disaster and try to save and salvage stuff. But that's not really an option in this for these people,
The other
which
thing
is
that,
terrible.
yeah, the other thing that has sort of been a takeaway, and maybe it's an odd lesson learned, is I've thought, okay, sirens are going off, knock comes to the door. What am I grabbing? And thinking about the things that are most important and is there anything that would be worth risking any sort of anything for me? And I'm just like, nah, gal. They did an interview with a guy the other day, and it seems so trite and seems like such a like a whatever a trope or whatever you want to call it. But the guy's just like, my family, we're together, we're safe, we'll figure it out. And you could tell that he wasn't just like that person that's like, I don't know you, but I know I love you, even though we just met. I know that, like, it wasn't like that. You could see that he genuinely, like, the place where he was just like, I'm alive. The people that I love are with me, and in some ways, sort of an enviable position to be in, because that's all you
I
got.
when I was covering a wildfire here, I spoke with a member of our state presidency whose house burned, and I had managed to get into his neighborhood after he was evacuated, but before his home burned. And I did my story and saw the stuff, and I talked to him later, and I was like, man, I didn't realize that you lived right there. And had I would have messaged you and asked if there was anything else I could have gotten from your house while I was there because I was in the neighborhood, and I could
Yeah,
have.
yeah,
I could have taken an additional, you've made that escape that you talk about where you're like, it's time to go. And then somebody calls you and says like, hey, I've got 15 minutes or I can go in your house and get whatever else you want
sure,
me to,
sure.
like a second chance. I thought that would be great. And he said to me, he's like, we had all of our family pictures, they're burned, but they were all backed up in the cloud. And he's like, my mother had several paintings that we lost, but we also had those like scanned and backed up.
Hmm.
And like everything he had, like all of those things that you think of pictures and documents, he had the wherewithal to have had them backed up already. And I was like, man, that's an important lesson for me that I haven't taken advantage of. Like, I really should take advantage of the technology that's available to us to back up those things so that if the time comes that somebody knocks on my door, I'm not worried about pictures. I'm not worried about documents. I'm not worried about those things. I can just be like, get my family, the things
Yeah,
that really are most important, and get out.
yeah. You grab Winnie and his teenage friends, and you get the heck
Yeah.
out of there.
Well, I'm pretty sure the teenage friends are going to come rescue Winnie. We're going to,
It's the rest of you. Hey, there's more
yeah.
than just Winnie here.
Hey,
There's the
what about
rest of
us?
us.
We don't have
The,
room.
the other part of that certainly is that, and you'll see this, the picture that's associated with this episode is a young Russ Wild, Elder Wild at the time, a scanned
No
photo,
glasses
because
there.
I'm doing the very thing that you alluded to, which is the fires in California have my anxiety amped up in a way that I can't even explain. And so it will be going through things and scanning things and making sure that I've got backups of things and know where things are and all that for a good long while, at least until the anxiety rests. For real, it is 100% what is going on and why that picture was found of you and why that picture will be with the episode. I don't know if you had this as your next story, but I want to make it the next story. Speaking of fire, police say that a fire at a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Southwest Calgary was early on Thursday morning intentionally set. Fire crews arrived on the scene. They did not see any signs of fire, but noticed that there was a broken window after a key holder for the building arrived. Facilities management, because you can't just get in the building. Even if there's a fire, you have to have a fob. They searched inside. They found signs of a small fire that damaged a carpet and created a slight haze. Fire crews then made sure
Was
that
it
the
a
blaze was
purple
extinguished.
haze?
Fire department and the
That
arson
was my
unit.
favorite part of the whole article. That
Yes.
it created a slight haze. The horror. They had to,
Well, you
they
know
had to
that
cancel
haze,
sacrament meeting because it was a
the
slight haze.
haze. Gustav Messen, a member of the church, said the incident was unnerving since the fire took place in a room where children often meet. I gotta think that's the nursery room.
Or the primary room.
Yeah, but I think I don't think that you go, this is the primary room. I think that you go, this is the nursery, the room where children meet. Speculation, of course. I'm going to vote nursery. It was very nerve-wracking to know that this type of hatred is happening towards people in my church. He added that incidents at the church have seemed to become more frequent over the past year, with several instances of graffiti and other vandalism. Quote, we don't really mess with anybody. We like to exercise our faith and practice our beliefs in the way that we like to do it, he said. I know that a lot of
That's
people are
practice
not.
with an ISE.
Yeah, practice the Canadian way. I know that a lot of people are not very amicable toward people in my faith, and I've experienced that all my life. But having said that, we would like to exercise that freedom of believing our faith in the way that we would like to do it. Well, move to the United States of America if you want religious freedom. I'm teasing.
We
Anyway,
might not have to. We could. Never mind.
yeah, we're gonna invade it. Try us. We'll invade it. Anyway, terrible for the people up there. About 350 to 400 people attend church there each week. Greg Stringham, the communications director for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, said, quote, it's disappointing when something like this is directed towards any religious community. So there's that. What news story did you want to go to next?
I hope they got the haze out of the building.
Yeah.
I mean, we once canceled the sacrament meeting in our building because we had a skunk go underneath the building and spray. So I can
Oh
assume,
no, really?
yeah, just
That would be too much. How
yeah, that's
distracting would
what.
that be?
No, that was enough of a different sort of haze to get
Yeah,
us to out of the building.
stinky
Um,
haze.
I want to talk about perfectionism.
Okay, let's do it.
Does religion lead to more or less perfectionism? What do you think?
So I've read the article. We have reached out to the two authors of this study about perfectionism, Justin Dyer and Michael Goodman. This was, I think, an article in the Deseret News, I want to say.
Right.
So I think their idea is that it does not lead to more perfectionism. I don't know that I agree with that. So am I
Right.
arguing with science?
I mean, I think it comes on to how you define things and the
Sure.
way you approach it, but they break down perfectionism by religious identity and from former other religion people who've left other religions and
Hmm.
people who have left the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints
Sure.
versus atheists and people who just believe in God but don't have a religion. And they find that being a Latter-day Saint uh, doesn't put you in the high category of one of the lowest categories of people, or though I don't know how to say this. The people who are the highest, they think that perfectionism is a must kind of thing.
Hmm.
Like that percentage of those people is smaller amongst church members, they found.
Yeah. So yeah, some in the definition we got when I posted this on our Facebook page. Follow us at facebook.com/the cultural hall. Share all of these articles and more, some that we don't even bring to our articles of news. I made the sort of offhand comment about the more plastic surgeons per capita in Utah, and boy, people were like, "How dare you? We are second. Miami is number one." And I just was like, okay, great. Miami is number one, and Salt Lake City, Utah is number two. I the thing for
There's
me,
lots of reasons people have plastic surgery.
well, sure, sure,
Just echoing the comments.
well, and maybe that's part of it. And I got in trouble a long time ago because of my personal feelings towards plastic surgery. I'll reiterate them now just to incite people. Uh, no, I sort of will. To me, just like anything else in life, if you're hoping that a procedure or a thing is going to change your life, I think far more often than not, barring some procedures, I suppose, uh, I think that there is probably, and this is what my 21st century me loves, there's probably some of the work that needs to be done. You need to go about the work because, I, a car not going to make me happy. If I'm miserable before, I might enjoy the car, but it's not gonna fill that hole. And if it does, that's another problem. These things, with plastic surgery and some of the perfectionist things. First of all, you won't be perfect, so spoiler, you lose. And second of all, uh, you're still the same person that has had plastic surgery. I know there are exceptions. I know people hate that. I know that people think that they're the exception, and maybe you are. I don't know. I'm not trying to judge you, but I do think that we far too often in different zip codes in the state of Utah hold people up in a physical perfectionism that other people try and emulate. And I don't think that that is good, right, helpful, religious, Jesus's plan, whatever you want to call it.
So what are you gonna have done first, or no?
I'm gonna have the little crease between my eyes, actually.
Those crow's feet when
Crow's feet, yeah. No,
you're gonna get I'm kidding.
yeah,
No,
butt implants.
the I mean, I thought that it was interesting too that they carried that on, like the toxicity of perfectionism, like the feeling like I'm never good enough.
Hmm.
It's something that I feel like is a common thread that we hear, like, and that idea that for some people it even gets to the point of uh unaliving oneself
Hmm.
because they just feel like they're not good enough. I think the idea is there. I don't know what the next step is. I think if you were able to interview them, I think that'd be an interesting question. Like, well, what's the next step? How do you, if we as the people would have, if you would have told us before, we would have probably thought that members of the church had, by our definitions, would have
Hmm.
had a higher than most desire for perfectionism or anxiety towards perfectionism. But your study says it don't. Well, what's the next step? What do we do with this information, and how can we culturally, like, make it even better, like, to make sure people have that correct perspective on what's really important in life, and that imperfection is okay.
Sure. Yeah. So I think that, like Quorum of 12, Prophet, some of the other individuals that speak at General Conference, I think that they, in the last few years, have done a better job about this. I think as we learn about scrupulosity, I think that, that sort of OCD about religious, um, beliefs or actions to try and become perfect, or that you're able to actually works your way into perfect. I think talking about that is certainly part of it. I would be curious to know if, the survey is like, hey, are you trying to be perfect? And they're like, no, no. And that's why it's not as high as we would think, or whatever the mode to get the results that they got would be. I do think we're better at it. I don't care. I stopped caring about what other people thought as far as that stuff goes a real long time ago. So I don't know. I am so much in the camp of I know that Jesus loves me and just wants me to try my best and not kill people. That's about where we're at,
And drink
trying,
coffee.
yeah, and not drink coffee. Try not kill people and also no coffee. So, yeah, I hope it works out. No response from those guys yet. Um, but yeah, I don't know.
It's an interesting article. It's
Yeah, all these, by the way, linked in the show notes if you are curious about and want to read more. Certainly, we don't take the time to go in depth like the articles themselves are. And, I've had this sort of waiting in the queue in the hopes that these guys would come on and be able to tell us more about it. So we'll see. Where do you want to go next?
I'd like to. I hope they call me on a mission
Okay.
to somewhere extremely dangerous.
The 10 most dangerous Mormon missions ever attempted. This was like one of these. I'm pretty sure no one wrote this article. This was from MSN, and I'm pretty sure this is like an AI web crawl, gather things based on a Q find. And that's what these are. So it says the 10 most dangerous Mormon missions ever attempted. Why don't we go back and forth?
Well, should we do it in order, or it's like, I
Oh,
mean,
I don't care.
I thought that it's funny that they list them in a funny way, which to me was like, it's like Russia, the Saratov approach.
Yes.
It's
Right.
like
Well, so
the
that's spoiler. That's the two missionaries kidnapped in Saratov, Russia in 1998. It inspired the 2013 movie.
yeah, I thought some of these were interesting. I think some of them would be interesting to talk with missionaries who are there today. Like one of them, South Africa, and it says,
Hmm.
like, the article says, in 2006, two sister missionaries were attacked and assaulted by three men in Port Shepstone, South Africa. Because of that incident, you know, other female there are no longer any female missionaries in South Africa. Spoiler,
Which
that's
I
not
don't
true.
think is true.
No,
And
but like
do you remember two sister missionaries getting attacked in 2006?
I don't, but I
Yeah.
don't. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm sure it was a thing. And then that's an example of the AI nature of this article, I think.
Yeah.
But like, did you on when you were on your mission? Did you feel like your mission was there were places in your mission that were dangerous?
Yes, downtown Cleveland was scary. Scary. Guns pulled, people being robbed, scary. How about in Texas?
I don't know that. I mean, there was a couple times I was out in the country a lot, and there were a
Mhm.
couple times that were like a little like it's probably not the best place to be in, but they weren't
Sure.
anything that was. I never saw anyone who pulled a gun on me, which I'm sure happens in Texas a fair
Yeah.
amount.
They call that
Um,
breakfast.
we did have a tropical storm that hit our mission, and there was flooding, and it had been I don't know 48 hours since I heard from some of the missionaries that I was responsible for,
Mhm.
and that night we talked to some members in our ward, and we called our mission president and said he had a truck and was willing to take us down there to find him,
Hmm.
and so we were like, okay, let's go find him. So we went. And essentially, we got there right about the time that the flood waters receded enough so that we could get into their apartment complex. And they'd just been playing cards with their neighbors. Wasn't particularly dangerous, but their apartment complex had become an island that,
Hmm.
they didn't get helicoptered out, but I guess they could have. But
Yeah,
yeah, they
yeah.
just
It's
hunkered
not
down.
it's not missed on me that as you guys headed down there in a truck, the waters receded. It's not missed. It's not missed on
Um,
me.
yeah, I would have said we parted them, but
No, they parted on their own.
But I
The
do wonder though, like I know statistically we say that the young people that serve missions are statistically safer on their mission than if they would have just stayed where they're at. And I think of silly statistics like you're more likely to die in a car accident on your way to buy a lottery ticket than you are to win the lottery, that kind of thing.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
I'd assume that like any mission where missionaries drive is or ride bikes, it's
Sure.
dangerous. But like obviously the incidents in this article are like the crazy.
Yes, absurd. I want to highlight a couple of them. I love this one where it says Ukraine, just in general, Ukraine. And then it's a quote from someone that is not actually quoted. On my mission to Ukraine in 2006, we did not wear name tags. We could not carry Books of Mormon in our hand and covered our white shirts and ties with zip up jackets. I honestly rarely felt in danger, but the country was experiencing some political changes that made the presence of a very peculiarly American church somewhat unpopular. So that's what made that one of the top 10 most dangerous. Uh, the Dominican Republic, just the whole thing. Uh,
All
Half
of
of my
it.
mission was in an area called Los Alcarrizos. It was known for regular machete fights in the streets, drugs, and corrupt cops. This quoted guy whom they don't actually quote. I'm a pretty big guy, so maybe that had something to do with why we spent so much time there. I also just realized two of my companions also had football scholarships waiting for them, and another was 6'5" with a basketball scholarship. This article is such garbage, but there are a couple others that I hope you want to hit
I
as
love
far as scary missions.
the England one off the top
Yes,
about
yes,
the case where the manacled Mormon case where it became infamous from the missionaries who kidnapped a British woman.
yes. Well, they were kidnapped by a British woman.
But that's why it made it one of the most dangerous missions ever
Yes,
attempted.
because the woman who
I mean,
kidnapped them in England.
it reminds me of the time that I was probably 12 or 13 and the phone rang at my house and I answered it and it was for my brother. And it
Mhm.
was, I don't know, it was a telemarketer of some sort. I don't remember. But they asked if he was there. And I said, no, he's on a mission.
Hmm.
And the lady goes, like for the military? I was like, he's attempting one of the
Yes,
most dangerous Mormon missions ever.
yes, and I can't tell you anymore. I'm sorry. This is interesting. Are you going to watch American Primeval over on the Netflix? Have you watched any of it?
I haven't watched it. I haven't even looked at a trailer for it. The stuff I've heard seems mildly absurd, but also I like mildly absurd.
Sure.
So
It's
I
it's real gory.
oh, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Episode
Uh,
1, spoiler, scalping, and you see it.
ugh.
Yeah. One of the episodes talks about the Mountain Meadows massacre, and so now a lot of people are like, was there such a thing? Well, did this really happen? Was this the show takes a lot of
Liberties,
liberties as far as
creative
that goes.
license.
The thing I like about it, and there's someone who actually portrays the Prophet Brigham Young within the show, and you'd recognize him. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's a fairly popular actor that you've seen in other things. He was going to be an interview here in the Cultural Hall, but he asked how much I was going to pay him, and I said, I'm not interested. Never mind. Uh, it the thing I like about it, the conversations that are being created about it. The thing that is unfortunate, as has been reflected by others, is that the people who watch historical fiction and then think it's what happened, or don't think beyond what they watched and go, "Yeah, this I saw it. Jim Bridger is this. They killed a guy with the shovel. They hung him like this. I saw it. That's my great grandpa." Like that kind of crap. But to have the conversation about it, okay, I think it's interesting enough. It's real gory. I don't like gory television.
And now I'm conflicted about whether or not I want to sit down and enjoy that with a bowl of popcorn.
You should watch one episode. We made the mistake. Don't watch one episode right before you go to bed. It's not the kind of show you can watch and then go to bed. But earlier in the evening, maybe you got something that you got to do, but you got a little bit of time. With how many kids you have, that's a joke. But being able to have just a moment to yourself, watch it. It's well done. Friend of the show, Lindsay Hansen Park. I think that she consulted on it from the Mormon historical angle of it, and so there are some things that they get done really well, and I genuinely do appreciate that. I look at it and go, "Huh, how do I feel about this? Do I think that this is accurate?" I hope that people responsibly watch it like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's interesting.
So watch it. It's on the Netflix. It's only like 6 hour long episodes, I want to say. So you can check that out. Where did you want to go? We've got a time for probably 2 more stories, Russ.
So one of the highlights of my life
Uh-huh.
as a youth, one of the things that I like to claim as something great that I did as a youth
Uh-huh.
was I sang in general conference.
Oh, get out. I didn't know that.
You didn't know I sang in general conference? Yeah, I was a
Maybe I
youth,
did
and
actually, now that you say that.
our stake was invited to create an Aaronic priesthood choir, and we sang on sometimes those kind of things, they happen for the priesthood session at the time,
Mhm.
but we sang on a Saturday afternoon on a general conference. It was the conference weekend when President Hinckley had his solemn assembly, and he was sustained
Yeah,
as the
sustained.
president of the church.
That's incredible. That's a cool
So
experience.
yeah, and so it's colored the way I've looked at general conference my whole life since
Mhm.
I was 14 at the time. And so things like we prepared more songs than we sang,
Hmm.
and they said because of the timing of the conference, we may have to sing a extra song, we might cut some songs, and so we had all this stuff ready, and we sang in the tabernacle. We were still in the tabernacle at that point,
Mhm.
and so it was just the whole thing was very fascinating to me as a young man. I'll send you a link to the video of
Oh
us
no, there's a
singing.
video?
Oh yeah,
Gosh.
of course there's a
Of course.
video.
Okay. Sorry. Do you get to
But
see a young Russ Wild?
oh yeah, singing. You can see if you can recognize me from that
Of
missionary
course.
picture.
Of course I can.
But
Now,
but that said, I find it interesting that there's a chance to apply to sing in general conference in the upcoming April conference for youth 14 to 18. You can sign up and apply to sing in conference, which I think is kind of unique because we were asked as our stake, our region, to sing in conference, and now, which I think which was amazing to me, is that you randomly pick
mhm.
5
You, not
stakes
you. You, not you.
in southern Utah, or
Yep.
not southern Utah, in Springville. We were in Springville, so we picked All right, all the wards in Springville, send your
Send your
eight
boys.
young men, and like we're gonna make us a choir. And
Yep.
I thought we did pretty good, but now they're gonna apply and audition and whatnot. But so I think it'll be interesting to like stack the April 2025 conference up with the what it would have been April 1995
Yeah.
conference. Whenever I sang, I think it was 95. I don't know, maybe.
It's a sing battle. Two things worth mentioning. One, when you guys sang, you sang Book of Mormon stories, right? That my teacher tell to me are about the Lamanites. We don't
Yeah,
sing the
it
song
was really,
anymore.
really uncomfortable because we did the whole hand thing.
No, boo. And then the other thing is there are some stipulations. You have to be 14 to 18, like you mentioned, born between April 6th, 2006 and April 5th of 2011, and you have to be from Davis and Weber counties in Utah. So even us Salt Lake County folks cannot do it. Attendance is required for all rehearsals and performances, and there's a list. You can find it in the show notes. Those who miss one or more rehearsals will be moved to an alternate. We don't have time for your non-committal for the choir.
I will say that it did ruin me from other choir participation, and I have been in other choirs since then. I don't consider myself a person who likes to sing or is good at singing or would, other than pressure from my wife, want to be in a choir.
Sure.
But
You did it in
but
the
I always
MTC, though, I recall.
probably.
Yeah.
But the the fact that like this group of random young men from Springville, I think we practiced 4 times, and the practices were like an hour long,
Yeah.
once a week for 4 weeks. Then we did a dress rehearsal at the tabernacle, and then we sang like 5 rehearsals, about an hour each. And so sometimes my wife is in a state choir, and they'll have these 2 hour after church practices for
Nope.
weeks and weeks. And I think, man, I didn't practice that much for general conference.
Yeah. Yeah, Brent. That
But
just
we
goes.
had the Spirit helping us,
Yeah,
or
that's right. There's the posture. No, that just speaks to the acoustics there in the
angelics.
tabernacle.
Yeah.
The acoustics in the tabernacle, they can perfect anything.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's the prehistoric days auto tune.
Tell me, what story would you like to end this articles of news on?
I don't know. Do you have one?
You've got one that you get to do. That's it.
I
One
mean,
story to rule them all.
I'm afraid to ruin.
Hey, I'll pick. I'll pick. Too late.
Okay.
You took too long. The Addiction Recovery Program gets a
Oh,
new
great
name,
one.
which I thought was super cool. It has been changed to Healing Through the Savior, the Addiction Recovery Program. It's also released an updated 12-step recovery guide in connection with the revised program name. I know that at least the title of it has been changed, but I'm imagining there are other changes, not just the title page. These changes emphasize that healing from addictive and compulsive behaviors begins as participants turn their hearts to the Savior, Jesus Christ. The program encourages greater connection with God and increased support from others, increasing the focus on Christ. So, wasn't there before, just known as the ARP or the LDS Church's ARP, but now allows us to and distinguishes us from other addiction recovery programs because most just focus on a higher power, a greater being, putting your faith in something that is beyond yourself. And the churches identifies it as Christ, as healing through Christ.
Perfect. A perfect way to do it. I did find the other one that I'd like to share.
Okay,
Can I
quickly.
sneak it in?
Yes,
Uh,
please.
all right. There's a bunch of stuff about Family Search and the things that they're doing,
Uh-huh.
but I haven't looked at it yet. Have you, the new app Together?
So we are interviewing the project manager for it.
So initially when I thought, I'm like, Together, is that like, oh, if we're together, can we find out if we're related? And it really seems like a great way to like, that app that you ever do that.
Sure,
Anyway,
sure. The one that finds out,
the
can we date? Yeah, can we date? Yeah,
the
it's
Can We
far enough
Date
removed.
app.
We're good.
But no, it's the idea that this app that kind of creates prompts or things that basically the way I read it is like it's almost like a family journaling app to kind
Yes.
of create those family memories. And like, you know, perhaps they're like we share those stories on Facebook or wherever now,
Uh-huh.
or in family picture albums, but to just from the jump upload it to the Family Search, so it's tied to your family and the memories and stories as you go. So
Yep.
when your kids get older, it's already all there.
Yeah.
That was
It's
interesting.
like a Storyworth almost, like an application of Storyworth or any of these things that are starting to become popular.
Right.
We sent
Even
grandma.
Apple's journal app.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the same idea, but just like, let's just upload that stuff as we go. And I will say, like, as a person who lost my father when I was really young, like seeing stuff that other people have uploaded about him on Family Search, not Family Search, or yeah, Family Search, to see that stuff and like be able to like one day log in and be like, oh, there's a new story, and like to find things out about, as an interesting way to get to know those relatives that have gone before. But it's not that. It's we can build that stuff now.
Yeah. And I'm sure much more than that. And so I'm excited. That's going to be a
Yep.
guy I went to high school with. I also, in my pile of things that I scanned recently, found his wedding invitation that I happen to have. And he's like, why do you still have that? I've been married 25 years. No idea why I still have it. Scanned it, reached out to him, found out that's what he does. So he is going to be a future interview where we talk about the Together app. I'm just getting permission. I have to get permission. In order for church employees to talk to me, they have to have permission.
Oh.
He can't just be my buddy Dan talking about what he does for work. He has to have permission. Permission granted. Come on. We hope that this episode has nourished and strengthened your body.
And if you're not able to listen this week, that you'll be able to listen and attend next week.
And that when the time comes, you'll be able to travel home in safety. In the meantime, Chris at Alpine Lakes Travel, Debbie Wanless, Chocolate Cake Bites Podcast, and the Tiger, with a U, will be saving a seat for you
on the back row
of the Cultural Hall.
Save me a seat, it's sure to be neat on the back.